if we are writing an inequality, in order to have that sign for an inequality, then the words have to have the word is. Is greater than. Because of the word is, we have this sign, represents that. Is less than. Because of the word is, we have this sign. Without that word is, and we just have greater than, that means we have to add, right? Excuse me. Without this is, less than means to subtract, right? All right. So, here is example number 1. All right, write the inequality for 8 more than x is less than 12. So we need to write this inequality. So is less than, because of this word is, this is where our inequality sign comes in. So let's talk about the first part. It says 8 more than x. How do I write 8 more than x?
X plus 8.
Good. X plus 8. Awesome. Now where it says is less than is my inequality sign, and then 12. Okay? You have a couple of these to write today. Just a couple. No big deal, but I wanted to make sure. Okay? Has to have the word is for it to be an inequality sign. All right. Now, what do you guys remember about interval notation? You remember interval notation word, okay? All right. So let's talk about interval notation. Interval notation is a way to show all, I forgot the word show, sorry. To show all possible solutions. Okay? So, if we have a closed dot, or it is a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to sign, right? Then we're going to use a bracket in our interval notation. If it is an open dot, so less than or greater than, then we're going to use parentheses. You remember that part? Good. Okay. Just want to make sure. So, let's just practice a couple of them. If I have an inequality that says x is greater than or equal to 4, the first thing we want to do is put it on a number line. Okay? Very simple. I draw my number line. At 4, do I have an open or closed dot?
Open. Close.
It's closed because it's got this line underneath, right? That means that it's equal to, greater than or equal to. So I have a closed dot.
And then you make the arrow, and with the point of the arrow has to match that image right there.
Yes, that is correct. So because this is greater than, I am going in this direction. It's greater than. The arrowhead matches the inequality sign.
Unless the variable's on the right.
Correct. Okay. Now for interval notation. Interval notation is just like this. It starts at this dot. Because it's a closed dot, it starts with a bracket at 4. Then this arrow goes forever to the right. And if it's going forever to the right, it goes to infinity. And can we equal infinity?
Yeah.
Cannot equal infinity because it goes forever. So we're going to put a parenthesis on it. Okay?
The actual number is going to be a bracket.
No, if it's equal to the number, it's a bracket. Okay, so how about this one? Let's say I have x is greater than negative 2. So on a number line at negative 2, it's an open dot. Very good. It's an open dot, and this one also goes to the right. So now the interval notation for that, because it's an open dot, is a parenthesis. Negative 2. Good. Okay? That's all right. I understand. Okay, what about this one? What if I said k is less than or equal to 7? Good. It's a closed one. And so at 7, we have a closed dot. Which way does this one go, though? Yeah, this one is less than, so it points to the left. Less than points to the left. And so if I'm doing my interval notation this time, if I read it like a book, I come to the arrow first, which means I'm starting at negative infinity. Go to 7, and because it's a closed dot, it's a bracket.
Wait, so will it ever be where there's brackets on both sides?
Yes.
How does that happen?
When it's a compound inequality,
What's that?
which we'll talk about tomorrow.
So tonight on the homework we'll never have
No.
two brackets together?
Correct.
But we will have two parentheses together.
Yes. You could. Yes.
Because it's right there.
Correct. Okay? Are we doing all right? So here is example number 2. Let's talk about this a little bit further. Example number 2. Anytime in your homework it asks you to graph, that automatically means you have to do interval notation as well. Our books are old, and so interval notation is a more up-to-date way to show where your solutions fall. Our books don't do that very often, okay? So anytime it says to graph, you also have to do interval notation. All right. So let's say I have W is less than or equal to 12. First thing we got to do is graph it.
Close dot.
At 12, we have a closed dot. I agree.
Go left.
It goes to the left. Good. So that's graphing it, right? Interval notation. Yes, parentheses. Good.
12 bracket.
Good. Bracket. I agree. Okay? So now, do we have any question on how to do interval notation? I know you guys now remember it now that you saw it, right? I'm not done. I'm not even close to done. So, next thing I want to talk about is solving. Inequalities. When we solve inequalities, we are going to solve like solving equations. We follow the same exact steps as solving equations, except there's one special, wonderful rule with inequalities. Yes. If you multiply or divide by a negative, flip the sign. All right, so here is example number 3. I'm going to ask you to solve. Graph. And if we graph, we have to do interval notation. Okay? All right. Let's go with this. Let's say I have negative 2 times W plus 4 minus 5 is less than 12. Okay, I heard a 12. All right. So in solving this, what do we have to do first?
Distribute.
Good. Negative 2 times w is negative 2w. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Minus 5 is less than 12. Combining like terms. So negative 8 minus 5 is negative 13, right? It's less than 12. Good. Add 13 to the 12. Plus, plus. So I have negative 2w is less than what? 25. All right, I agree. And then we divide last, but we're dividing by a negative. We have to flip it. So you get w is greater than negative 25 over 2, and you're going to leave it in that form. Okay? Leave it in that form. What?
So, do you flip it when you're times you're dividing by a negative, or
Yes.
do you only flip it when you're dividing?
No, multiplying or dividing. I put both words in there, right? Yes, when you multiply or divide by a negative, it does not switch, right? Correct.
So it's
Okay?
a positive number. What about if you're negative? Never mind.
Okay, at negative 25 over 2, it's all I'm asking you to put on the number line. Gabe, listen. Is this an open or closed dot? Open, good. And it's greater than, so it goes to the right. Interval notation starts with a parenthesis because it's an open dot. Negative 25 over 2 to infinity with a parenthesis. Okay? But there is one I want to talk about that's similar to this. What about something that looks a little bit easier? Here's example number 4. Again, I want you to solve. Graph. And of course, if I say graph, interval notation. All right. What if we have something that looks like this? Negative 10 is greater than or equal to 20x. What's negative 1/2 though? The answer is not negative 1/2. So when no?
It's got to be just 1/2 because you got to.
Okay, so here's one of the things I wanted to point out. Number 1, it's an inequality. If it's an inequality, it's a group of answers and not a single answer. Okay? It's a big group of answers. That's why we have an interval.
Because it can be 1, but then it could also be infinity.
Correct. So let's talk about this one. If you chose to get x by itself, which sounds like Dave did, he divided right here both sides by 20. Right? And I agree with Dave. He would get a negative 1/2 is greater than or equal to x. But we don't write our x on the right. Never, ever do we write it on the right with an inequality. So we have to reverse this or mirror it around, flip it all. So this is actually x is what? Yes, less than or equal to negative 1/2. The variable has to be on the left, okay? So then if I go ahead and graph this, at negative 1/2, do I have an open or closed dot, Gabe?
Yeah, close.
Closed.
Inequality.
Thank you. And which way does this go? To the left. So it means everything to the left are all answers. Interval notation, this starts at negative infinity, goes to negative 1/2 with a bracket. So this is saying that any solution that falls in here will make this inequality true, right? Okay, so it's not a single answer, right? It's an interval. Okay. All right, here's it. No, example number 5. Example number 5. For this one, let's say I have 9 times x plus 3 is less than 9 times x minus 2. All right, so first we distribute. You guys are right. So 9 times x is 9x. 9 times 3, 27. Less than, over here, 9 times x is 9x. 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. Now what do we do? Yeah, so we're going to subtract 9x from both sides, right? What happens to my variables now? They dropped out, right? Is 27 less than negative 18? No. So what do you think we should say our answer is? No solution. Or again, this book says never. I prefer no solution. Okay? There is not a number out there that will work for this inequality. Correct. So what do you think we're going to say if this sign would have been flipped the other way and it was 27 is greater than negative 18? Yes, that would be true. So for no solution, there is no interval notation. However, if it would have been 27 is greater than negative 18, which is infinitely many, that interval notation goes from negative infinity to positive infinity, because it includes everything. Okay? So you have a couple of those in your homework today. Does anybody have questions? Anything we want to talk about? You have 2 word problems. Do we need to discuss one of those?
No, we don't need to discuss word problems. I'm just talking about it.
I know you are.
No, actually, do.
All right, well, let's set up one of the word problems together. Find the lesser of 2 consecutive integers whose sum is less than 40. Actually, let's say 41. Let me change that. Sorry, 41.
What does consecutive mean again?
That's why I was putting it up here. What does consecutive mean again?
I don't know. That's why I asked.
They're one right after the other, right? So consecutive numbers are like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Or 11, 12, 13. So how much are they separated by? If I say 13, 14, 15, how much are they going up by each time?
0.
By 1. Thank you. By 1. So if the first consecutive integer is x, what's my next one? It's going to be x plus what? X plus 1. This represents the first one. This represents the second one. And then it says their sum. So what am I going to do? Add them. Is less than. Whoops, no, just less than, my bad. Is less than 41. Okay? Consecutive means in a row. So if the first one's x, the second one has to be x plus 1. All right? Any questions? Nope? Okay. So homework today, you're doing page 38. 10 to 34 even. And again, you have to do interval notation even though your book doesn't tell you to. I am telling you to. And you're hearing every part of that. Oh, Colton's not here.
He backed into a dish this weekend.
What?